How you doing, John? Welcome. I guess we're back to the Pyramidical Podcast. It's been 3 years since the
Since the
last
last
one.
episode. Some viewers, and thanks to Sean who bought a T-shirt. Those are old T-shirts. I appreciate the support. Someone bought a ZD27 T-shirt. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about UFOs a little bit in this episode of the Pyramidical Podcast. We're going to talk about UFOs because that's a UFO-related NHI, non-human intelligence T-shirt. ZD27 was my just attempt to make a UFO show because I do know there are some subscribers that like UFOs, and I'm a fan of the subject of UFOs. I'm not a skeptic from the perspective of disbelieving. I've seen stuff, you've seen stuff, we both have seen unidentified stuff in the sky. It's all over the news, everyone's talking about it. But this is episode 10 of the Pyramidical Podcast. But what I was going to say is some commenter, not just, it's one or two comments, whatever. They're like, oh, I remember this old video from years ago. It's brand new. This is a brand new podcast. It's not an old video from years ago. The date is October 18th, 2025. And this might not come out for a couple days. We record it in advance, but it's not from 5 years ago or whatever the case. It's from 2025. This is brand new. And should I just talk about the UFO real quick? Because we did talk about UFOs for probably 15 minutes last time, and it got cut off due to a technical glitch.
Yeah.
But I showed my little flying saucer, the Bob Lazar model I made. And I have a second one that I haven't made up yet. This thing is translucent, but I wanted to make the whole thing silver because the actual reason I bought this wasn't just to put it on my shelf. I bought this for the actual recreation of how I believe the 1997 Mexico City UFO was potentially filmed. Now, even though I'm open to UFOs existing, I'm open to flying saucers existing, but I'm very skeptical of the 1997 Mexico City UFO. It was on the front cover of MUFON magazine. I know everyone at home already has this copy of MUFON magazine on their shelf. It's sitting on their coffee table right now. But for those who don't have a copy of MUFON magazine, November 1997, I know most people already have this and have a subscription to it and everything. But for those that don't, this is top news. This happened on August 6th, 1997. And it was on the front page of November 1997 MUFON Journal. And they go through it and they talk about it. They're like, oh, it's real. I remember listening on Art Bell. And the guest said, oh, we know it's real because not only did it go behind buildings, and it was quite an impressive video. If you didn't know better, you would think it's proof it's real. Now, I'm open to the possibility that there's a small percent chance it's real. But when actual investigative journalists tried to get to the balcony where this was filmed, they located the actual balcony. It's like the top of a building. It might have been an apartment complex. It might have been a business residence, whatever the case. They found the balcony, and when they asked for permission, they were denied. They were fully denied access, and this was back in 97, 98, when it was still a hot story. Who knows if anyone's gained access since then, but I've seen zero evidence of anyone really researching this old case. But the expert on our bell said, and I can't remember who it was, they said it was spinning while it was going over the skyline in between skyscrapers. It actually just went behind the skyscraper. And it's pretty impressive. There's a skyscraper right here. I can try to splice the video and show the video right now. I don't think it's trademarked and copyrighted, but it might be. To be honest, it might be, because I think it was made for entertainment purposes, if it's a hoax. And the saucer goes right behind this building right here. And how I believe the hoax could have taken place, and no one has ever said this. I've researched it enough, and I've read comments. I've seen people talk about it. I've never seen anyone say that this is how it could have happened. I think the guy who filmed it had 1997 technology, green screen technology. He might have worked for the local news station, whatever the case. I think he had green screen technology, which is not new in 97. They've been doing this since like the 70s. It's a very old technology. And I think the guy had a cardboard cutout shaped exactly like the building. And he made the cardboard cutout chroma key green or chroma key blue. And I think he placed it exactly in front of the actual building. Only after filming the model go in front of the building. And then he filmed the building with no model. And then he chroma key greened it, removed it, added it, removed it. And then you could plop anything you want in front of it, as long as you have a cutout. Now, he could have done the opposite. The chroma key could have been this part. It could have been this part. It could have been both. I would have done both. I would have had chroma key blue, chroma key red, something like that. And then I would have switched it until I had it going in front, and then using really old camera technology tricks, I would have just popped the building in front, and there you have evidence it's a huge saucer, not a tiny model anymore. It's now huge because it's going behind a huge skyscraper. Mexico City UFO, very famous case. I'm going to try to reproduce it exactly. I bought this model, we're talking, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, for the purpose of doing it. But I was going to go to LA and I'd be on the side of the road for 2 hours filming skyscrapers. And then I would have to go home and cut it out in the exact shape. It's a labor-intensive task that I gave up on, but I'm going to actually finish it. I'm just going to use a different skyscraper. I'll use some local building here in my town. It doesn't have to be a huge skyscraper, just something tall enough to give the illusion it's a huge saucer going behind it.
So Noah, so where did you get that UFO magazine?
I got this for $2 at Bookman's in Arizona. Still has the price tag on there. Bookman's $2.
Oh, cool.
And Bookman's had like a stack of like 10, 20 UFO magazines. I bought them all for my old UFO show. This is before ZD27. This is back when I had a fan supporter, a great supporter of the channel named Maurice. And Maurice said, I love your channel. I love your videos. I said, oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I said, if you have any recommendations, anything you want, I'll try to make content that you're interested in. He said, how about some UFO stuff? And that's when I came out with the Roswell material research. I really researched that Roswell material.
Yeah.
The material that was supposedly found at Roswell, that you smash it in your hand, it pops back into place. And there was a doctor that claimed to have seen it. And he said, I think he said a student brought it in to school one day. Oh, here's an alien thing my dad let me show and tell. But I don't buy that story. I personally don't buy it, because the doctor claimed he'd never heard the Roswell story in his life. I mean, if you're not a fan of In Search Of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy, if you're not a fan of Unsolved Mysteries, hosted by Robert Stack, Sightings, hosted by Tim White, I would understand if you never heard that story. But I've probably heard the story 10, 20 times, because I listen to Dr. Bell, I listen to paranormal shows. I'm not a fanatic on it. It's just an interesting subject for me. Yeah. And the guy claimed, and this was pretty late in the game, this is the year 2000s. He claimed he'd never heard the Roswell story of the and this guy's like 60 years, 65 years old or something. He's never heard the story.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I'm way younger than that, and I heard the story 20 times.
He's a teacher as well?
He claimed to be a teacher, and a student brought it in for show and tell. And he said, oh, they worked for NASA or something. Just some random NASA connection with no evidence, no names, no nothing.
Yeah. There's, again, it's like, it goes back to like hearsay being like not really that great of evidence, you know? Not to say it can't be used, but it's not the best. because it can't be verified, unfortunately. Like you can't go back to that fourth grade classroom or whatever, go to that show and tell students, say, hey, is that true? And you might say no, but I think can you show that cover again and just the building? Can you show it up to the camera a little bit?
Okay.
Just
I'll try to splice it into the show.
there you go.
Because it's a pretty famous case. They used a regular at-home camcorder. But one that shows the date. This is the actual embedded date.
It does look, it does look like that building is quite separate from everything else, right?
It could be.
So it does look like it does support that
Could have
cardboard.
been superimposed. Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think people in 1997 were, especially the lay UFO public, were hip to Photoshop and things like that. So just like we see with a lot of folks, is an underground Malibu water base that Fade to Black base their whole beginnings on, and I see it, people forget about it and then it comes back again. So now people are talking about the Malibu underground base again.
The UFO community has amnesia. They forget everything.
Yeah, that's a good word, amnesia.
The reason I'm skeptical is because there was a professional filmmaker who made the alien autopsy movie for money. He has admitted it's something he produced. It's a piece of a short film he made, and there's tons of evidence it's fake. To this day, people think the alien autopsy video is real, even though the director came out saying, I did it.
Yeah. I even people who are usually like rest in peace now, the person who used to have me on his show quite a bit, this guy, Sean David Morton, was on the alien autopsy video. And he's on there and they're like, we talked to Sean David Morton, who's just a dude that like branded himself. I mean, you can look into him. He's not the best guy himself, but he did.
Isn't he a psychic? Isn't he a self-proclaimed psychic?
He was known that he would go on Art Bell or Coast to Coast as that.
Yeah, I've definitely heard him as a guest. Yeah.
But he's written like all these like books. He sent me books. And when I received the book, it was in like a cardboard thing. And it was stamped with all these weird stamps. And he used to carry and legitimately travel with a Lemurian passport, Atlantis and Lemuria. And he wouldn't get charged postage because he would come up with his own country in his mind and stamp it and say, yeah, this, and so he'd get free postage all the world. And so he ended up getting like convicted of tax fraud and stuff, right? But sent to jail and rest in peace, died a couple of years ago. And whatever he did, it's fine. But they went to him, alien autopsy people, for the video. And I remember being like very compelled by it when I don't know if I started on Unsolved Mysteries or Sightings, but I was very much into those shows at that time. And I remember the video was quite expensive to get. And I think it was like back then $70 or what, I forget exactly how much it was, but for me it was
the alien autopsy.
Yeah. And David Morton was in it. Sean David Morton was in it, and he says, well, if it's a fake, it's a very good fake, but yeah, to this day, people claim that and still believe it's real. They'll still believe the Mexican City UFO thing, even though I wonder who's cited in that magazine. Do they mention Richard Dolan, for example? Do they mention
Mexico City UFO?
Yeah, who do they mention in there? As like
I did read the article. I read the article years ago.
Okay.
Disappearance out of an apartment building. The tape is under 30 seconds. This article.
I mean, everyone has one on the
just from UFO Roundup. Okay, let's see. Composite panorama. Here's a little composite of the different frames. Oh, wow. And it's a pretty impressive video, but I'm very skeptical because of the alien autopsy stuff. There's a lot of fake stuff. When you said rest in peace, it reminded me a couple weeks ago, some guy said, "Rest in peace to an alien that never existed." The puppet alien in the Area S4, Area 51 video, there's a sock puppet alien. And that's also one that I would like to recreate, show how it was done.
With practical
because
effects.
if you look very close, I'm a very detail-oriented person.
You are.
Okay? If you look very close, it's called the Victor alien because the anonymous guy who hosted this documentary, which is obviously a mockumentary, the whole thing's obviously fake. It's fiction. It's similar to Alien Autopsy, but it's interviewing an alien. And the alien chokes up just like Kermit the Frog. And if you look long enough, you can see the hand do this. The alien chokes up like this. And you can actually see the sock neck. But the thing is, the sock neck is covered up by this latex mask head, which is a foam rubber head. So you really can't see the sock neck, but you can see it in the way you've seen Muppets from Jim Henson for many years. It's the exact same movement that a Muppet makes when Kermit the Frog is choking.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact it's a sock puppet. And I saw a post 1 or 2 weeks ago. Some guy said, "Rest in peace to this alien. I have a psychic vision that he passed away. Rest in peace." Man, I'm so sad.
Oh.
The dude is made out of foam rubber and a sock. So he was never alive, to be honest.
Rest in peace.
When I did my old UFO shows, this is Maurice inspired. I bought a stack of we're talking $100 worth of UFO magazines because I wanted some old source material because, as you know, the UFO
Wait, hold that up again. Sorry, on the other one it said X archives on it. Go up a little bit, raise it up. No, up. Yeah, there you go. X archives, all real and more sinister than TV's X-Files. Interesting, because Dark Journal.
I got what were the more interesting looking
X.
Here's another Mexico UFO. I've definitely seen this one before. See, this is just going to be a balloon with lights. And when there's enough fog in the air and it's far enough away, it's nothing. There's nothing to see. There's no definition. There's no quality. It's just a toy. It's a toy and someone's in fog. I mean, I believe extraterrestrials do probably exist. Now, I found some Roswell ones. I was going to do part 2, part 3, part 4 on Roswell.
Wow.
And I got a lot of the source material from these magazines, UFO magazine. They actually go into deep dives on the original interviews that, yes, they exist out there, but there's so many fake interviews that the real interviews disappear. They just disappear. So I will eventually go over the Roswell stuff.
Wow, look at that. Great photos.
Did you know that the Roswell UFO debris that was found, and here we have Kyle MacLachlan actually doing a recreation.
That's amazing.
So he must have been on a TV show where they reenacted it, and they chose Kyle MacLachlan to reenact this guy. You see that? Amazing.
Yeah, I wonder where that's from.
I know. I'll have to.
It can't be Twin Peaks. It can't be Twin Peaks.
I don't know what it's from either. But this guy famously, was told to show a weather balloon, and he's smirking in the photo. He said, "That's not what I saw," but they told me to hold that up. So yes, there was a cover-up. Stanton Friedman, rest in peace, the legitimate UFO investigator, he knew there was a cover-up. The official cover story was Dummies, a program that didn't exist until years later. I can't remember how many years later. It was like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. There was a dummy-related test that didn't exist in 1947. It was in the 50s. And so that's not a good cover story. But a piece of information in one of those articles is from an interview, and the lady said there was tape. There was alien tape on the debris, extraterrestrial tape. And I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting detail. You don't hear people talking
Oh,
about
that's
alien
funny.
tape too often.
No, that's
And she went into detail about the tape. She said the
hmm,
tape had like a flowery design. It's very odd, very unusual. I'm open to it possibly being something from overseas. Tape. And a lot of the metal beams were not metal. They couldn't be burned. Could have been some kind of weird plastic that couldn't be burned, held together with tape. So I'm open to the possibility of it being a weather balloon, but not a weather balloon that they reported, not the weather balloon they showed. I'm also open to it being a wedge pie uh, flying saucer type thing, but not saucer like a piece of a saucer. And that's what people are talking about these days a lot. Is that it's a wedge. It was never. It was a wedge pie piece, and that's what it actually says in one of these old magazines. And these magazines are from. This one's from 1994, and it interviews the lady. Of course, they have to throw in the fake alien autopsy because it was big news at the time. But that's like a different. Oh no, that's just a recreation. And of course, they got to show some fake, some fake dead aliens. And that's unfortunate. You got to mix in real with fake, and that is a very standard procedure with certain groups. They throw in real stuff with fake stuff. When the actual intelligence experts look at it, they're like, "We know that's fake. The rest must be fake as well." So it is a good way to hide true things and secret things. Throw in some fake stuff, throw everyone off.
Have you ever heard the theory or hypothesis that Roswell was actually, this is I know it's a long shot, Japanese interned soldiers who had suffered from progeria, which is a generational disease that makes you skinnier and your enlarged cranium and whiter skin. And if you look at these Japanese interned prisoners in the U.S. during that time, because of World War II, they look like that. They look like almost you would say a gray alien. So people theorize that that's what was in the craft, and that's what they were experimenting with the craft, and that's what those people saw. Or Corso, I don't know the lore too well. Saw.
I'm open to
Yeah.
I'm open to Roswell being anything. Roswell could have been
Yeah.
aliens. Roswell could have been demons. Roswell could have been, and how could Roswell possibly be demons? And I'll just throw this theory, and it's not a great theory. I'll admit this, okay? Maybe demons were playing around with the ability to move physical objects, and they can't create a sophisticated flying saucer, but they can create the illusion of that. And then when it actually crashes, you can see it's just tape and boards and nothing real. That's a bad theory. But I did have a theory about 15 years ago that maybe it was, and I did say Chinese. Okay, so about 15 years ago, I made a guess that maybe it was shave-headed Chinese guys, and they were purposely really short and purposely in like some spandex suits, and were chosen by the Chinese to go up in a Chinese weather balloon because it can't hold much weight, just for spying purposes, just to fly over the military base of the United States. It's maybe a dumb theory. Maybe it's a dumb theory, but it's a little bit better than demons possessing something, you might say. But they're just artistic representations, but they represent what we're seeing. Are the Chinese going to spy with weather balloons? They've done it recently. We know that. Why wouldn't they do it back then? And I think
same with the Japanese.
Yeah, definitely World War II.
Battle of Los Angeles. This person also has a theory that the Battle of Los Angeles was dirigible weather balloon systems that drifted over from Japan down the coast of California and then were shot at, but weren't reachable because they were really high in the sky, as far as a weather balloon anyway. And then we're talking, when was the Battle of Los Angeles, John?
Battle of Los Angeles was, Wow. Let me look that up.
But if you get, yeah, but no big
we don't
deal.
have
But
a we don't have a Jamie to look that up.
no, we don't. Yeah, yeah, right. But the other thing
That
is that,
was the incident, very famous, 1942, February
like,
24th to
so,
25th, the middle of the night, 1942.
and you've done videos on this as well
That's actually a
in the
pretty
past,
good theory of it being so high that they couldn't shoot it down for that reason alone.
right?
That makes some sense if it's a physical object. I had a
I think,
theory that I had a
yeah,
theory that it was the devil himself doing some prototype test
I like
of
that.
manifesting light, shape-shifting spirit entities, if you believe they exist in any way, shape, or form. They're
I
not,
think,
they're not, it's not impossible for them to shapeshift into a flying saucer. There's a lot of footage, even the Mexico Air Force UFO footage, where there's like 6 lights flying in formation and they kind of go together and they kind of shoot apart. And I've seen similar things with ghost investigations.
yeah,
And
I,
if the
I like
devil's
your,
gonna if the devil's gonna prototype some UFO invasion, he's gonna test it out at some point. And I think it could have been a test. And you can shoot a spirit all you want; it's not gonna do anything to a spirit. It's gonna go right through them.
true.
And
Well, I like your idea of the of it was, I think you were relating it to Whitley Strieber in Communion and the face that gets taken off and stuff. Like the theory that maybe the Roswell incident was demons putting on a new skin to get out there to the public. So years and years later down the road, like the Bene Gesserit putting down seeds of things, the Quetzalcoatl rock to become polytro, you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like, or the Space Guild, if you will. They're putting little things in history. I think Aleister Crowley's Lamb was part of it as well. And if you look at
mhm,
Lamb, that's an insertion into history of what they might want to manifest in the real world. So it's their new skin to the public as a meme, if you will. It's like a meme that that gets into your head. So now when you picture aliens, that's what you imagine. Most people imagine a gray alien, you know.
mhm.
But
Yeah, his
anyway,
lamb drawing was from what is it? From
mhm.
1918 or something, 1919.
Very early, yeah, very
Um,
early. And
it wasn't in pop culture yet. He couldn't have stolen it from
no,
the Flintstones.
right?
That little alien that follows Fred Flintstone. It wasn't in pop culture. Uh,
No,
by
not then.
1919, there wasn't even Buck Rogers yet.
No, I'm not saying he did it. I'm
No,
saying
what
that
I'm
it was.
saying is he couldn't have pulled it from pop culture, making it more authentic, making it more of a real thing.
That's a good point. Yeah. But yeah, so like that's one thing, that I thought was that could be that the Roswell incident lands on the side of it could be their beta testing of what the public will accept.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's much more easy to accept a space brother than it is to accept the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
The devil doesn't come at you with a pitchfork and a tail. He might come at you with mysterious knowledge and occult wisdom and stuff like that, right?
Man, I read 2 books. I read 2 books, and I stupidly sold one of them. I should have held on to it just for research purposes because I would have. Now I forgot the title. I forgot the author. What happened was I order a lot of occult books, not recently, but in the past, decade. And I ordered. I remember a Rudolf Steiner book. He
Mm,
was a really cool guy. Uh,
yeah.
Passed on, of course, but he's definitely an expert in the supernatural, just the theories on the spirit dimension and hereafter, and so on and so forth. And the person who sent it to me sent me a free book to go with it. I'm like, wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
And they sent me like a free, like 1920 hardcover first edition to some book I never heard of. And
Wow.
he was pretty thin. He was only like this thin. And I read the whole thing, and it disparaged Jesus. It talked
Uh,
negatively about Jesus, and it claimed to be a telepathically communicated piece of information from aliens.
Right.
It could have been 1920s, could have been 1930s. It was a very old book. Man, I should have held on to it.
Yeah.
Could have been 1940s, but it was pretty old. And I guess, man, knowing how old it was makes it more valuable because that wouldn't have been a common thing. And then I bought a book from the library book sale for $1, and I still have it. And I came across it in my garage recently, so I know I still own it. And this book also claimed to be telepathically, what's the word? It's called automatic writing. They claimed to have received communication, automatically wrote what the message they're getting from an alien, and magically they disparaged Jesus as well. It's not a coincidence that aliens are going to talk negatively about Jesus. First and foremost, why would a being from another planet care about Jesus either way, on such a strong level where they hate Jesus?
Right.
That kind of gives a lot of credibility to Jesus. Okay. If some alien from a million light years away hates Jesus, I'm going to give Jesus more benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And trust Jesus.
Never heard it.
More than some random, anonymous alien from light years away. That's just me, you know.
Singles out Jesus, right? Yeah.
But I had those two books. One of them was at least from the 20s, 30s, 40s, could have been 50s, let's face it. Okay. But the other one was from the 1980s. Two totally different books, two totally different authors, and I still have one of them. It might be called Starseed Transmissions or something to that effect, the new one from the 80s. And I still have it. And the lady said, I don't know why this alien's obsessed with Jesus so much. Talks about angels and demons and Jesus.
That's funny.
I don't understand because I don't believe in that stuff. She wrote in the book, I don't believe in that stuff whatsoever. So I don't know why this alien keeps mentioning Jesus and angels and God and heaven and hell. Yeah. I don't understand. Good. Well, that's because it was a spirit the entire time, unless she's putting on a ruse. But I read the whole book, and the lady doesn't have any secret agenda. She's just ignorant on what spirits are, ignorant on what heaven and hell is. And she's verbatim writing what she's hearing from some lamb-type creature in the corner of her room. So it's kind of creepy.
I think all that channel writing is like that. I think it's so interesting. It's not like they have that intense hatred of Lao Tzu, you know, or like an intense hatred of the Buddha, or the intense hatred of Siddhartha Gautama, you know, or anything. Like it's but Jesus, forget it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. So it lends credibility. It kind of works in negative for them. But I wanted to mention this to you. And I want you to think about this because it just came to me as well. So Roswell happens in 47, right? What happens right before that is the testing and the dropping, even, right? I believe, of the nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of David Lynch's theory, and I think he puts it through, or not just his, but like I've seen this theory maybe spouted out by some high level intelligence people. And I think it's said, or people say, I don't know if this is true. It might be that the Collins elite, as they're called, this group of theologians and CIA people or NSA people, whatever, creating this group to study the demonic UFO presence, is that with the atomic weapon. And have you ever seen Twin Peaks: The Return? By the way,
no.
The new okay, so let me just. This is not a spoiler, but kind of is. But the first.
Don't spoil too much because I haven't really seen Twin Peaks. I'm a big David Lynch fan of his movies. I've never watched Twin Peaks other than when he was brand new, and I remember when David Lynch died, rest in peace, not too long ago. People are saying Twin Peaks is great, Twin Peaks is amazing, and I was like, I'll check it out. I mean, I'm a big fan of Dune. I'm a big fan of Mulholland Drive, his other movies. I have seen a lot of his movies. It's just the names escape me. It was
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. I definitely saw that.
Eraserhead.
What?
Eraserhead.
That's the movie.
Elephant Man, which Bowie
probably most famous for. Eraserhead.
Yeah.
He did Elephant Man? Is that what you said?
He did Elephant Man. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah,
Anthony
that's a sad
Hopkins.
It's a really
It's
sad
if you
movie.
don't, if you watch that and you don't like feel something, you are not a human being, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the
yeah,
saddest movies
but
I've
it's
ever
it's
seen.
real history, and like what Lynch does
Yeah.
is it's a black and white film, but what he anyway, but so black and white. Speaking of black and white, episode 8. So we're skipping
Mhm,
way to episode 8. This thing is totally out of context of Twin Peaks,
mhm,
but it's all you hear is you see a black screen. You hear 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you hear a shrill, like just like a demonic shrill of like a
mhm,
high pitched beep, and a blinding light hits the
mhm,
screen, and you just hear this, and then as your eyes focus and the camera slowly pans in, you notice the mushroom cloud in the desert, in this vast desert, the Trinity weapon site. And so the point is that something demonic might have been unleashed, is the theory of that point
mhm.
of humanity going so far into material, splitting of the atom energy, that that could lead to the end. And in fact, that being weaponized in such a way is in fact a demon in and of itself. So that the Roswell, which happened in the same state, by the way, right, New Mexico. So they
Uh-huh.
were testing these atomic weapons in New Mexico as well, Los Alamos, and so on. Um, could be related to this post World War II atomic era of absolute. I mean, look at what's happened since World War II. I mean, and it's really, it's a lot of it's sad, but I think Lynch was showing that the two might be related in some weird way that we don't understand.
Yeah, that's a theory that's popping around a lot these days. I'm sure everyone's heard about it. But most definitely, that would be something the end times heralders on the black horses riding in the nether world would be pay really close attention to. Wow, they built annihilation
Right.
tools. Let's focus on that.
Or
Uh,
like even if there were, if which I
the,
believe there are.
the aliens and demons and aliens and angels would all focus on something that powerfully dreadful, most definitely. And they claim today, even when they do weapons tests and it's nothing's actually happening, they're shooting up a dummy. That sometimes if a UFO checks it
Right.
out, and that's a theory that they claim they're using it as bait, like a they're doing fake tests to try to bait flying saucers to show up. So that's an
Huh.
interesting theory if that's even real.
Have
But
you ever heard of Jack Parsons? Jack Parsons, a JPL. He was a rocket scientist, but he was also like an occultist.
yeah, I mean, I've
CBS
heard of
made a
him.
show
I've been
called
to two of his
Strange.
houses.
Oh,
So
you have in Pasadena. I think you have one.
yeah, I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
go inside. I researched two of his houses, and I ghost investigated in front of two of his houses.
Oh, wow.
And I did get a weird thing at one of his houses. When you're a solo ghost investigator, and you have no access, you're going to get limited stuff. I mean, if I spent the night at one of his houses, maybe I'd actually get something super
Right.
interesting and turn it into a full blown show. But
Sure.
I was curious why I happened to be driving in the neighborhood and I wanted to make a stop. And they named streets after him. One of the streets is Jack Parsons Avenue or whatever the case. So
Right. Right.
they're huge into, he was one of the
Yeah.
founders of JPL. I mean, he's rocket scientist genius.
Crater of the Moon named after him.
But at
Crater
night,
after him.
off off the government rolls, he was an occultist, very famous
Exactly.
anti-Christ. Um, Probably someone Marilyn Manson looks up to. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
Babylon working.
yeah, he did the Babylon working, some super demonic ritual.
Pumpkin to L. Ron Hubbard, by the way, which is interesting, and the science fiction writer Robert Heinlein,
Mhm.
who wrote Starship Troopers. If people don't know who that is, so you have this weird mix of writers and artists in Pasadena, scientists, and new age religion type people and scammers, but they're all occultists. And Crowley, I've read the letters. There's a great documentary, a person who did um, a documentary on The Secret, which is the treasure hunt I do. Um, they just put out one on Jack Parsons, and it goes through the history and the rituals and the actual letters that he sent Crowley, and Crowley sent back. And Crowley hated L. Ron Hubbard, apparently. It was like, this
Mhm.
guy sucks, you know. But it is an interesting story. I
Well,
think
he stole. I
his
mean,
wife,
well, he stole Parsons' wife.
yeah,
Something to that effect.
Marjorie Cameron.
Yeah.
Her artwork, by the way, if you've ever seen her paintings and stuff, fascinating. Like
Mhm.
absolutely, like wow, you know. But I'm not that big of a
But
fan.
but I did go to both the front sidewalk public area of the front of two of Jack Parsons'
That's
houses,
cool.
and I pulled out my meters, EMFs, and temperature and static electricity. The static electricity feature being the most important to me
Yeah.
because it's one that's not used with other ghost hunters. So I focus on static electricity. It's very important because static electricity can't intelligently float in the middle of a road, whereas
Hmm.
perhaps EMF can naturally, whatever, from wires or whatever the case. But static electricity has to be more remote, and it just scientifically it's less possible. And so I use it a lot. I use all three at the same time: EMF, temperature, static electricity. And I did get a hit in front of. I got pretty much no hit at the first house. So I went to the second house and I thought it was odd. Jack Parsons bought two houses very close to each other. So I was like, wow, why would he buy the houses so close? We're talking, we're talking a 1 minute walk between the houses. So he bought this house, moved out, and then bought super close. So he just liked the area. He liked the convenience.
Yeah.
It's a main road. That's probably why he did it. But I was
Right.
thinking maybe on some supernatural level, maybe he summoned a bunch of demons, and maybe it's easier to get in contact with him if he's close to the portal or whatever the case. You know, so
Could be.
I had a theory that maybe I can get some evidence of something like that because he famously did crazy rituals, whatever, you know. And
Yeah.
at the second house,
He really thought that.
I got a pretty strong reading from the static and EMF at the same time, spiking, getting some stuff. And then a good 10 seconds after the spike, the owner pulls in with his car.
Oh,
And what happened was the familiar spirit of the owner is always going to be 10 seconds ahead of the owner. And
right.
this is an occult secret.
Dog.
It's an occult secret most human beings don't know.
That's
But
true.
I've tested it time and time again, over and over again, over and over, time and time.
It
I've
does.
tested it at least 10 times with really, really good results. And
Hmm.
I don't recommend anyone do that. Okay.
I haven't tested it.
I even tested it with myself. I
Oh,
drove to a Jack in the Box that's a good 5 miles away. And
yeah.
on the way, and I had a camera recording my equipment
Cat. Yeah.
in my room, the corner of my room. It was during the Corners of Rooms experiment, which I don't recommend anyone do this. Okay.
Oh,
And I asked the spirit, hey, set off the meter, touch the camera, do whatever you got to do to prove you are, a couple minutes ahead of me, maybe 5 minutes ahead of me. I know you can do
sure.
it. And it's on camera.
Yeah.
The spirit touched the mic of the GoPro inside the GoPro itself. It's
Yeah.
touching the camera mechanism inside the plastic part, like really touching it, like an impossible touch that even a human couldn't have done. I
Right.
didn't set it up. It unfortunately it didn't really set off the equipment, but it did touch the camera and it touched the mic, and you can hear
I
that.
remember that. Yeah.
And it's I've done the experiment multiple times. I was in a haunted looking town nearby and I got a similar spike. And then a truck driver drives by. And I'm like, that's probably the truck driver's guardian familiar, actually protecting to an extent, just keeping an eye out. So not all these entities are necessarily negative or evil, but we're really not
Right.
supposed to communicate with them. It is in the realm of the occult. We're really not supposed to do that. I don't recommend that. I don't really ghost hunt anymore. Okay. I'm focusing on fictional writing and movies and total fiction. because it's a lot safer spiritually speaking, and it's a lot funner from an artistic perspective. Because
Yeah.
if you spend your life savings doing ghost investigations, the reaction is going to be, that's bunk, that's BS, that's fake. But if you spend a bunch of money on a fictional thing to entertain and you think it's cool and people see the artistic value in it, they can't say it's fake. It is, you know, I'm making a
Right.
movie, for example, and
Artistic license.
there's nothing fake about making a movie. It either is a decent movie or it's not. It's either a good endeavor or it's not. It's either art or it's not. They can't, at least there's no, it's just when you work on ghost investigating, you hear it a lot. People say it's fake, 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 fake. And it's really demoralizing. And I've spent thousands of dollars, over $5,000 in ghost hunting equipment alone. And I heard fake 1,000 times. And then it gets pretty old after a while.
But the crazy thing is that they're more popular than ever, you know, and like
I know.
You know, and people believe in it more than ever. So it's interesting, but you do get those fake people, even though you go you especially more than anybody I've ever met or seen or known, go way out of your way to prove yourself wrong and to like make sure there's no interference with any of the things. I remember that corners of room experiment that you did, and I remember watching it live with you, and nothing happened for like hours and hours and hours and hours. So it's not like you were doing it for like clicks or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was like to prove that I think you had a plexiglass thing over the square. And
yeah, I did like one or two live streams, and pretty much nothing happened on the live streams.
Pretty
The
cool.
entities are pretty smart. They take off. But
that's what it proved.
One time I did have the cameras rolling for I think 24 hours, and I went to bed. And I went to bed, and I kept them rolling. And I remember the camera turned off by itself. I had to wake up and turn it back on. So that's one of the more interesting things that happened. And he was plugged into the wall, so the battery didn't die or anything. And I do remember on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m., the meter started going off. I'm half asleep. 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, the meters in the right corner. I changed the meters. Like one night I did it on the left corner, and this is the night I did it on the right corner.
Right.
And at 9 a.m., the meters start going off after 24 hours of nothing, other than the camera turning off a couple times. And then my nephew left the house with his girlfriend literally 3 minutes after the meters went off.
Wow.
Because those meters were their familiars. So there's a lot of weird stuff that happens with. And speaking of coincidences, my nephew just texted me right now.
Oh, really? Well, she should come on the show sometime. But
you can come on the show sometime. I don't know what he texted me.
I don't know. But
Let
it
me
is funny
just see super quick what he texted me.
Oh, sure. I'll take a minute and I'll just say it's really cool that we did get.
Okay. He knows I'm a big Back to the Future fan, and he said, "I know the theater is selling a DeLorean popcorn bucket." Okay.
Oh, cool!
Thank you.
That's cool.
I do want to see the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I'll get a DeLorean popcorn bucket if they have one.
Yeah. Oh, rest in peace too. I forget the guy's name, but he made the movie posters for all our beloved movies, from Back to the Future to Hook, which I had as my bedroom, the Peter Pan story with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. I saw it like 30 times in the theater because it was at the Bijou, which is like $1 theater. So they would just let me in and see it all day.
It's Drew Struzan. So Drew Struzan drew all those amazing posters.
Yeah. So he was, I mean, you're talking about
China, The Thing, Back to the Future, Harry Potter.
Yep.
We're talking Hook,
Star Wars,
E.T., Blade Runner, Indiana Jones, Star Wars. A lot of amazing work.
You know, he talked about someone that really affected at least my childhood, and I know many other, imagination and everything. I remember going to see Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy, he had done a painting to the Stars Academy of
Wow.
that they had hanging up. It was very large. It was like very, very. His paintings are very big.
Mhm.
Uh, but anyway, rest in peace, Sam. I want to say, but um, I also wanted to say that I do have a pyramidical riddle for everybody to solve,
Okay.
and I think it would be cool. This has nothing to do with the secret treasure hunt that I'm on, although it's inspired sort of by that. And the first riddle will be easy, but anybody who solves this riddle will get a prize. Any listener out there, I wanted to, we saw the feedback already. It's been only a day or so since we've had it up, and we've had a decent amount of comments. And John said we had someone buy a T-shirt, a ZD uh, T-shirt. So um, you could
Yeah,
actually win.
I'll try to make T-shirts for the podcast. So what's this riddle?
So this riddle, I'll see, but this is you could win a prize. You could get Thorin Oakenshield unopened um,
Okay.
with his weapons, and was given to me at the one of the premieres, not the premiere, but a premiere of The Hobbit in
Oh,
3D when I had my own 3D glasses, which I'll have to keep. But this was given to me by one of the actors. I forget the guy's name, but he played one of the dwarves. So there you go. You can win that.
well,
But here's the riddle. Okay, and the riddle, because we're not obsessed with UFOs, I would say, but and we're not going to be only talking about UFOs, but it is a big thing, I guess, and we do talk about it. So this will revolve around a UFO, and that's your first hint for the listener. So the first clue is that if you know me, I went there every summer as a child. Okay. Like every year I go there to this place. And I wrote a little poem. Honestly, I wrote this in like 2 minutes. And I didn't use AI. Okay. Okay. North of the Athens of America lays a land new in nomenclature. Upon the same land, the first tall presidential mountain, where the gold room is. In this very room, America was taken off the gold standard. North of that location, but still in that new state, is a marker of the head of a native, now turned into a resort. Down the hard highway of possible Australian origin lays a marker dedicated to the site where two were taken up by space brothers. I'm not going to use that A word. Missing time, star maps abound, where the hills meets the ground. So there's your, I mean, I can maybe write it out and put it in the video. But
I have
that's your
no
first one.
idea. I have no
Good
idea.
luck. Good luck. Good luck. So you could win a prize of your choice. But I would personally pick this. It is quite a rare object, and but yeah. So that's the thing, and I just wanted to let people know that you can just leave their guesses in the comments, and I'll give you hints here and there as we go on if nobody gets it. This one's pretty well-known UFO case. Very well known. I'll give you that. And the the hint, that's a cool shirt, by the way. The hint is in the name. I'll say that. So anyway, I will post the way the poem actually looks, so you can see what's capitalized as a proper name, what isn't. So that's that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for the podcast. What do you got there? Predator? Is that a Predator shirt?
Yeah,
That's
I was
cool.
wearing my Doc Brown shirt, but it's getting kind of hot in here.
Oh, that was the Doc Brown. Oh, that's pretty cool.
But I will talk about UFOs in the future. I'm gonna use these as resource material because it's a lot of obscure things that you know.
Yeah,
I just like the physical print. I like
yeah, they're
this
very cool.
mysteries of the psyche.
Who wrote this stuff? Like, do you have an author for any of these articles? Or just
Well,
so
these
just
are really high quality condition copies of UFO magazine, and I don't want to take it out of the
yeah,
plastic I have it
But
in
it
a
doesn't even
special.
say. It doesn't even say on the cover, like by
Well,
the mission.
I'll be going through them, you know.
Because I'd be interested, like if it's Stanton Friedman, like whoever it is, I'd be interested to know. I think.
I don't know,
That is
but
interesting.
I just grabbed a lot of interesting looking
Wow, look at that one.
benevolent ETs, the cosmic good guys. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
That looks like a
sure, I
car.
think there are definitely good aliens out there. I believe in that. But
I
the
did too.
people that say that 100% of them are good, they're not very
Yeah,
good at math. That's not how math works. Okay. In the world of mathematics, there's going to be 50% evil out there. Okay. It has to exist I mean, let's say we're lucky and it's only 10% evil, but evil is out there. Okay. I mean, in the Bible, it's 1/3 of the angels were freaking evil, and that's angels. Okay. So the
that's
host of
true.
the host of heaven were a bunch of angels, by the way. So one
Yeah.
third of the angels decided they're going to go a different direction. And
If you read Manly Palmer Hall, he talks about that 1/3. And a lot of people did. A lot of people think that, like Tolkien thought that they may have been, and C.S. Lewis too, that they may have that 1/3 may have been what the Irish call the fairy folk or the fae or and so because they're in that limbo land of existence. And so, but I don't know if I fully agree with that either.
yeah, I mean, 33%, according to the Bible, of aliens
33, that number pops up.
extraterrestrials. But
That's that number.
I'm open to the possibility of gnomes existing, but I wasn't until I met a freaking miniature spirit that tended to walk only 1 foot tall. And it sounds like an outlandish story, but I filmed it at the grist mill. I recorded it. Now, if it materialized at 1 foot tall or 2 feet tall, maybe that's how it's comfortable manifesting. But it flew by the camera. It flew by the camera so low that the camera almost didn't catch it, and I didn't catch it with my eyeballs because I'm looking. I'm 6'1".
I remember
So
that.
I'm looking at the height of 6'1". The top of my head is 6'1", but I'm looking at the high fives, the low sixes. I'm not looking 2 feet. I'm not looking from the perspective of a cat, but the camera did catch it because I panned, and a white mist flew by the camera like 2 feet off the ground. And
I remember seeing that.
Then I pieced together the fact that I was on my knee trying to turn on my hat camera. Right. I tried to turn on that camera for like 5 minutes straight. And then a poltergeist chicken feet like creature, because it sounded like chicken feet if I were to describe its footsteps. It didn't sound like a human, it sounded like an animal, but there was no animal there. See, it was right in front of my face, yet there was no visible creature.
But you could hear it.
I could hear it, and you could hear its footsteps right in front of you. And when I listened to that audio, when I play that video back, I'm hearing a growl. I'm hearing 2 or 3 growls.
Really?
That I misinterpreted as
wind.
When you're holding a camera, and maybe like the strap on the camera is like making a weird noise. I interpreted it as maybe my hand gripping the camera making a weird noise. But upon listening, it's a growl. It goes.
Whoa!
It's a demonic growl before the poltergeist manifestation on the grass.
Got to go rewatch that. Maybe we could put a link to that.
So I'm gonna definitely I can splice it and even show it here.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
But
because I remember watching that
that's
and
a growl.
Scared for you.
There's a growl.
Wasn't that the grist mill?
I'm gonna turn off the millimeter real quick, just because the batteries are dying. I'm gonna turn on my head cam. All right, let's see. Make sure I do it right.
Hey! I'm busy turning on my camera. Hold up. Hey! I'm busy turning on my camera. Hold up. Tell you one thing, there was something shuffling. There was something totally rifling these weeds right here. I recorded it, but I don't know if you could see anything. Something ruffling the heck out of these weeds. It sounded like this.
Yeah, you went to the grist mill. This
Yeah.
was this
No,
this
but that was
major
right?
this major encounter of the poltergeist on the grass, and then the mist flew by a couple minutes later. It was my first night investigation at the grist mill. I
Ah, it
believe
was.
I believe it was actually my third time there. I visited it twice in the daytime with nothing. No ghosts, no spirits, no ghosts, no spirits. I visited it like at 4 a.m. by myself at night, and it was very active. A lot of activity.
That,
So when I see skeptics go somewhere for 10 minutes and they're like, oh, there's nothing here.
yeah,
This is proof there's no spirits. Bye. They're almost scared to actually
True.
camp out at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. at a place for hours in the middle of the night by
Right.
themselves. They're scared. They don't believe in it,
Yeah.
yet they believe in it enough to take off and pretend they got some evidence that there's nothing there.
You gotta stay for longer than that. And like you said before, like they never reflect upon the phenomena that happens to them. It's just always like, oh, I guess that happened. Let's go to the next place, and then you forget about, but like all the phenomena that likely could be a real phenomenon. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I do
Yeah,
have oh, sorry.
I had no idea the spirit could speak English. But when I was there on Hexanoct of all nights, I thought Hexanoct would be a good night to visit the grist mill. Maybe a bad idea.
When is Hexenop? What is that? Is that what is that?
It's a witch holiday. I
A
noticed
Sabbath?
I noticed I was going to be in the neighborhood during Hexanoct. What's the date?
Hexenop.
Hexanoct is Witches'
Night
Night
of the
from
Hex.
April
Yeah.
30th into May 1st.
Okay.
It's a German folklore tradition.
Yeah. So you worship you do that stuff. You like Hexenop. You're a big fan.
No, it just was a huge, oh, Hexanoct. I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Hexanoct. And so many people posted that. I'm like, I'm going to see if there's any, reaction from the spirits on Hexanoct. And there's
Yeah.
pretty good reaction because it's the only night the spirit actually left its voice on my recorder. It was
Okay.
one of these recorders, one of these Tascams. I had
Yeah.
it in the window sitting there for like 30 minutes straight. And I would record myself, getting information, getting data. And I heard what sounded like a creak or maybe a small rock thrown against the stones on the inside of the house. So I turned and I listened and I didn't hear anything. Upon the playback, you can hear very clear right after the stone throw or whatever it was inside the house making a noise. It said anywhere. Very clear.
Whoa. That's right.
It sounded like an old person's voice. And no, there's no homeless person inside of there. That place is locked.
No.
I even keep track of where the combination is to make sure no one's even moved.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And the only people that have the combination are the Parks Department, and they don't regularly visit the place. They probably visit the place once a year. That's how off the beaten path and unofficial the place is, because it's not open to the public. They're given virtually $0 to maintain the place. It has a plaque from like 1960 on it. So back in 1960, maybe they visited it once a month. But
Yeah.
these days, it's a once a year type of, sure, we have that on the historical building sites
Oh,
list,
okay.
but we don't open to the public. It's too small,
No, it's not.
too easily destroyed. The bricks are probably made out of actual mud. You
Yeah.
know, it's an ancient adobe structure, so
I'll just say this
they
about
don't want the
going there.
public messing it up. What was that? Yeah,
Well,
Brandon did
I'll
visit
say
it. You were there.
I went there and I think it was either today or this past week. I did have it. I still have dreams about the grist mill.
Good job,
Uh,
James.
yeah, because it feels like it. It wasn't like because John and I we parked at a certain place and then we walked quite a bit out of the way in through woods. I mean, kind of thick woods as well. Not that thick, but it was pretty thick. But once you get there and you're at the spot and you look at the perspective of what this person or the people back then might have looked like or why they chose this spot. And when I looked over, there was a bit of a clearing on the side of this. I'm not even going to say what it is, but grapes and stuff all the way down and all the way like to this side. It's just thick, thick. And you don't think of California as having like thick vegetation, but it is. And then the full moon, I think, or something that night, it was a powerful moon and just it was such a charged. I don't believe in people that think, and I'm take it for what it's worth, but I there are very few things I've felt that like that before, and one of them was the Ouija board experience that I think I've talked to you about before, of having a Ouija board and being almost possessed by maybe that spirit and all the stuff that happened with that. But you get a sense of like, whoa, something's definitely powerful here. But then when it first went off, when the meter went off, because it went off a lot that night, I actually didn't notice, but I was like shaking. I was scared. I was like a little scared, because when it happens, you're like, oh boy. And there's a thing that you can't record, an emotion, like a thing that's like a chill up your spine almost. Like, and
Mhm.
it's like a sixth sense that goes off that like it's like something's not right, something's different,
Mhm.
pay attention, or it's like a sixth sense thing. And when that goes off, it's like it was just it was so quiet too. It was so quiet. And so
Mhm.
that place, I mean, you found I'm not gonna say a paradise, but it's definitely um
I think it's a perfect
perfect
lab
place.
for a ghost
Yeah,
hunting experiment, and I've been there 7 times at night, and I've probably been there 3 or 4 times in the daytime.
it's
And
incredible.
it's
Alone.
way more active at night, and possibly even 0% active in the daytime. Although a rock was thrown at the building by nobody, by the spirit, in the daytime as well. I filmed just a nice shot of me in front of the camera, like 50 feet in front of the building, with the camera very far away to get a nice long wide shot. And a rock was thrown at the building. And that night, that the poltergeist grass experiment or scenario, the incident with the growling, um, it did throw a rock, and the rock was thrown, and I think it bounced off the house and it hit the pool. It's not a swimming pool; it's a grist mill pool that they use to separate whatever for the
No, they
grist
used for
mill.
power. They use it for power. The water. They use the
Yeah,
falling water.
there, I'm sure it had a windmill or a grind mill, and they're
Right. Yeah.
grinding corn, and they use the water for this process, this ancient process of making food for locals. And
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe someone died there. I don't know. All I know is there's definitely a spirit there. It definitely occupies the building or the premises. It's definitely
Yeah.
guarding the premises. One time I set up my stuff, and one time I decided to turn on the red light. My
Hmm.
my with all the gadgets, Melmeter has a red laser light. And one time I decided to turn on the red laser light because if a spirit passes the red laser light, it like beeps. And it's a very not friendly feature because I can just put it this way, the spirit didn't like it. The spirit was almost scared by the red laser. And what did the spirit do in response to my red laser in the window? There's a truck down the road with its headlights heading towards us. So the spirit, I believe, or unless that guy is the guardian of the premises in the physical
Familiar.
world, saw a freaking red beam coming out of the window of what he knows is a totally abandoned place. Maybe he wants to protect it from intruders, you know?
Could be.
So I set up the red light after being there like an hour, and the red light was only on for like 5 minutes. And then I see freaking headlights in the distance. I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
I don't want to get caught. So
You didn't get caught.
I shoved everything in my bag, even with the lights on, and I ran out of. I was out of there. I was out of there in 15 seconds flat, with all my equipment, my tripod.
That's a lot of equipment.
My tripod not even packed up yet. I just had. I grabbed everything and ran because I wanted the truck to get there, and there's nothing.
Right.
And he's like, "What is that red light?" And to this day, the truck guy has no idea what the red light was.
I will say too, it is perfect for like, you know, I know my share of like abandoned places, but it is a great place for an escape as well. If you do have to get up and go, like you're gone, you can just go.
There's a lot of escape routes.
But I did want to talk about this object that I think I referred to on the last podcast that we did, where I got this crucifix. We were talking about your ankh, and you had your ankh, and I was like, well, that's almost the size of this crucifix I had. So I was volunteering at a place, it's sort of like a Salvation Army for helping poor people and stuff. And this was on the sort of like, you can take a free, usually it's junk, but they had a couple crucifixes, you know. And I saw this one. I was like, I need one, you know. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, but you know, I've always heard, like, you know, I'm just touching it, like looking at it, you know, and then I notice it's loose. It's a little loose right in this area, and I noticed that, and I'm just playing, and it starts to slide up.
Wow.
And in revealed, you can see that those are two. I don't think it was the holy water, actually. There's dust on this. This is the holy water vial that goes in this little part.
It's empty.
Okay. Now it is, I guess. I just spilled it all over the computer. No, I didn't. If I did, that would be terrible.
So what are those two metal things? Do you put holy water in there, or is that candles?
Nope. Candles, because look, you can almost see the wax. Can you see the burnt? So it's been used. So you see, it's decent wood. And so you put a candle here and a candle there. And then inside here is this parchment. I mean, it's almost fallen apart because I don't think this has been used in years. But it's not worth probably much. I'm just gonna use it for research purposes. And I am Catholic, so. But
the candle part looks dangerous. I wouldn't want to put candles in there.
Well, the thought is, so you have the last rites here, and there's a warning on it. It says, "Oh, what to do in case of serious illness? What to do in case of serious illness?"
Is that for exorcism or something else?
For just illness. Call the priest and give him the correct name and address. But exorcism gets into it at the end, so it goes through that step. But what you would do is you would set it up. I think you'd have the two pieces. Once this is unveiled, you have the holy water or the holy oil, and you have these candles going, because an exorcism is just a prayer. You're just praying the whole time, essentially. And when you're not praying, the people outside are praying. You know, they're helpers and things like that. So and people of the congregation are praying. Like you can even do that in a non-Catholic church. So it's possible it could belong to a Baptist or anything like that. But I
It's pretty
believe
cool, but it's kind of scary at the same time. I don't know if I want.
And there's a lot of wax. It definitely was used. So you see the wax.
Yeah.
But so then slides back in. But see, now I would be scared too, but only in that I did ask a priest too.
And you said nothing bad has happened, so it seems pretty good.
I mean, I did come down with a flu. But like,
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. Yeah.
Exactly. So nothing demonic yet.
Mm-hmm.
But with the cross, it's like I think we touched on this before, but the image of Christ, the Imago Dei, the image of Christ, is uncorruptible. You should hold yours up too, right?
Here's my Ankh.
Here's our screen capture.
I love the Egyptian Ankh. I made this myself. It took a long time. It took me like 2 weeks to make this. And to be honest, I didn't wear a mask every time I cut into it, and it's dangerous. Wear a mask every time you do woodworking. Wear a mask every single time. You don't want sawdust in your lungs, okay? Wear a mask when you do woodworking. So I had to drill holes. Took me a long time. But I personally like the Ankh, and I've seen Christian representations of claiming this as an idol, false idol. I've seen that. And personally, I believe this is a representation of Jesus. That's my personal take on it, that Jesus is so indelible in the universe's fabric on a cosmic level that you can go back 1,000,000 years and there's still evidence of Jesus. Because if Jesus is the master of the universe, why wouldn't there be some type of a type and a shadow from ancient times of Jesus? I believe
that's what C.S. Lewis argued. He said that in his fiction, but also in like his nonfiction work, his apologetic work, he said that like, and many other people have thought this too, theologians and whatnot, that there must have been preceding Christ. If God is universal and Christ is God, there must have been what C.S. Lewis calls good dreams. He calls them good dreams that were spread out for all the peoples all over the world. And there are different representations and evidence of Christ. So like in his space trilogy, he goes off to another planet, which is Mars, but they call it something else. Hops on Mars, and sure enough, there are entities there, and they know about Christ, and Christ exists there. Good and evil is a timeless, eternal thing that exists across the universe. So if you go to Mars or a planet that's hasn't been touched by human beings, the devil, he has one scene where the devil actually tries to seduce the Eve of that planet, and Ransom, who's the lead character, beats him up basically, and prevents the fallen world from happening. So there's another great Ankh.
It's the key of life, and isn't Jesus the key of life? Now, that's a very Christian message, but I'm not against Christian messages. There's nothing wrong with Jesus, nothing wrong with Christ. And it's the key of life. Jesus is the key of life, if you want to know the secret of the universe. And there's a lot of supernatural texts that talk negatively about Jesus. There's a lot of occult texts, New Age texts that talk disparagingly against Jesus. And they don't do that for a coincidence. It's a concerted effort on the unseen, from the unseen world. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree. But there are some occultists, popular ones like Duncan Trussell had was a comedian. He's just on Joe Rogan. He's on Joe Rogan all the time. He had a show called The Midnight Gospel, and he just converted to Catholicism, by the way. His wife is Catholic. I don't know if he completely converted, but he went to like mass 7 times or something like that. And he said it was amazing because I went there, and for once it's all they were talking about how to help the poor. They weren't held, that was the whole thing. It was, and love each other. It wasn't like what people think, but he had Damien Eccles on, who's, very, like Peter Jackson did a film about him, for HBO called Paradise Lost, where this guy, he was part of the West Memphis Three, got sent to prison. Henry Rollins and Patti Smith, Johnny Depp, all these celebrities rallied for him to get a fund for some lawyers because they thought he was wrongfully accused. Anyway, he's a big cultist, whatever, he's famous. He wrote a book and he said, like, he reads the Bible every day. And that Christ was the greatest occultist, or was the greatest, one of the greatest magicians. That's sort of like what you get with out of Blavatsky and or not Crowley, but sort of some of these non-Christian occultists that are like, they see Christ as like one of many ascended masters. You know what I mean? It's sort of the ascended master. So there are some occultists
like
that
Manly P. Hall.
think,
Manly P. Hall, yeah, he was pro
Exactly.
Jesus, but he was also pro all this other stuff. He didn't like Crowley, but he liked Blavatsky, which she created theosophy, which is very anti-Christian if you really dig deep into it, to the point where Blavatsky was a fan of Lucifer. If you dig deep into it, she apparently loved Lucifer on some weird level, and that doesn't sound Christian to me. I mean,
the Lucis Trust. Well, her narrator said the Annie Besant, and I've read some of Annie Besant's books. Dude, it's like they love Lucifer. Now, you want to talk about, like, they think like he's enlightened. He's enlightened. He's behind all technology. We need to embrace. And in fact, they set up like trusts called the Lucis Trust that is behind the United Nations and things like this. So they get their tentacles into all these different fields. Theosophy, a lot of people don't know. Frank Baum, the author of Wizard of Oz, was a theosophist. Wizard of Oz is an allegory of theosophy. You can play it out on the tarot cards. Toto is even there with the little dog with the blue card. Oh yeah, you can read it on an alchemical level. Yeah.
Richard Garriott, the guy who started the Ultima series.
Oh yeah.
This is an Ultima Ankh, actually.
Or British, right? Yeah.
He's huge into Wizard of Oz.
Is he really?
He has a huge Wizard of Oz collection, first printings, all that. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's interesting.
But it is, but there are things that have changed. So Dorothy's red slippers were silver in the book, because silver is associated with the astral and Mercury, because that's how she travels from one place to another. And it's a book of 13 books of the whole series. The Wizard of Oz is like 13 books, set of 13 books. But he was an avowed theosophist, and it gets like dark. It's not. I don't know if you've seen like The Wiz or Return to Oz or anything like that, but it's not this happy-go-lucky film that people associate with. You know what I mean?
Well, I know Blavatsky channeled information that has since been super debunked. Yeah. And so if the information is from anything and from any entities, it was negative spirits.
She was a con artist, in my opinion, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, a lot would say she just made it up. But
she made up one of those people, again, in the same vein of Anton LaVey, like all these different occultists. Peter LaVey, like they invent themselves out of nothing. They try to, and that's like, I admire that. Like Bob Dylan did that to some extent.
I don't admire it when it comes to something like the Simon Necronomicon.
No, when you're willfully deceiving people, I think that's wrong. Yeah.
Like 100,000 teenage kids bought that Avon Books Necronomicon, and some of them practice the rituals. And to this day, the Ghost Adventures crew, like, it's standard text. Like, they all have it in their back pocket. Wow. I'm pretty sure the past 50, if not past 200 investigations, Zach Bagans has a copy of the Simon Necronomicon with him. They've broken it out and started reading passages, and I saw the cover.
What?
And I heard the passages, and I did a search, and it's a passage straight from it. So in one episode, they accidentally showed the cover. And in one episode, they accidentally quoted it too much on camera and gave too much away. And then
Yeah, I
if you
wonder if
see,
that was after your episodes on the Necronomicon.
well, if you see photos, no, I think Zach has been into the Necronomicon for decades. If you see photos of his haunted museum, like his private areas, he'll have
Yeah.
like he'll have like 20 copies of the Necronomicon on his shelf. 20 copies.
20
And
copies, dude.
yes,
What?
the dude
Of the
collects
Simon Necronomicon or a
he
different
collects it
Necronomicon?
like the Catcher in the Rye
I mean, I love Lovecraft, you know what I mean? And I do, there are several like fake Necronomicons. There's a Simon, there's like ones that are like super rare that are like,
well,
oh,
there's only one printed
it's,
that exists. I
well,
mean,
they're
it's a
private. You're
fictional
talking about
book.
the,
It's a fictional book from H.P. Lovecraft's stories that never existed.
right.
And then of course the movie Evil Dead famously used it
Yep.
as a plot
Prop.
focus prop.
Yeah.
But the Simon Necronomicon came out before the Evil Dead movies, and is possibly
Yeah.
inspired by the Simon Necronomicon. I
Good
bet
point.
I bet the guy who made the Evil Dead wrote the original script probably thought there was an original, or maybe when he found out there wasn't, he knew it was safe to use in the movie. But the Simon Necronomicon purports to be written by some ancient guys, and
Abdul. Yeah.
you know, I have
But
dead
yeah.
names. I have
Oh,
the
you have the
history,
name.
the
That's an
history
amazing.
of the Simon Necronomicon, signed by Simon himself. And I
Can
can't
we
remember
see the
what.
signature?
Sure.
Yeah.
I turned off my computer, so it's a little bit darker than it was.
No, that's okay. We're good. I just want to see the signature.
I
It's
just
funny.
wanted the
I want to know who
signature
signed it.
of Simon.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, is it Peter Lavenda? Like, who is it that signed that thing? Let's
Here
see.
is, let me try to get a better picture of the signature.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Man, it's hard to stick this
Manage.
up.
I know. There you go. Yep.
It says Simon.
Simon something though. What's that sigil like next to it? It says Simon and then like a little. You see that? That's amazing.
Okay, let me try to get a better viewpoint. It's very hard,
That I would look at that. Oh, there's a
but
sigil. It's a sigil. It's
this
a veve.
is
It's a
the
veve.
signature. Okay,
It's a
I have
veve.
to like talk a little bit, otherwise they can't see it at home. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
How
go
it
ahead. Yeah,
switches.
go.
But this is, what does it say? Copy number 240 or something?
Yeah, 240.
There's very few copies of this book. I think there's 500. That's it in the whole world.
Or 666 usually, I think.
Or yeah, something to that effect. But there's very few copies of this. I wanted to get it. It talks about the history from obviously Peter Lavenda. Now he doesn't put his name on it, but I think he received checks for this. And if he didn't, I can tell you this: the signature looks very much in the
Like
style
Peter
of
Lavenda's.
the sigil.
Yeah.
Now, the name of the sigil artist has been revealed. Can't remember his name, but he passed away. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
He's most famous for creating the Simon Necronomicon sigil, and he did all the artwork on the cover,
Wow.
inside and outside. And he didn't get some ancient manuscripts and trace it from that. He artistically, from an artistic perspective, did all of it. See, I'm an artist, and I can tell what an artist's signature is on a piece of art. It doesn't matter how abstract or obscure that piece of art is.
Right.
If you're an artist, you can see the thumbprint of it all being the same. It jives together. It's too modern. It's too modern of a style. There's nothing ancient about the style whatsoever. It's definitely a 1970s style. He created it, and he's a pretty talented artist. And that artist himself, he signed Simon on the original books.
I bet you.
And Peter Lavenda signed Simon sometimes, and whoever was in the crew. So we have the artist, Peter Lavenda. Who knows? Who knows who the other Simons are? But it was a crew, and Peter, I believe, was the mastermind. His voice is on the little cassette tape. You can match up. It's a young Peter Lavenda, but it's the same voice of Peter Levenda telling people how to use it, how to use the Necronomicon. Here's how you do the ritual. You go into a graveyard. You get a stick. You make the freaking with the stick. You carve the gate to hell, and then you chant the ritual straight out of the book, and that's how you do it. And then fast forward, Peter Levenda says only an idiot would actually do the rituals in the book, yet his voice is on a 1970s, 1980s tape telling buyers exactly how to do it. So I think he's a hypocrite and a hoaxer, and his profit is mostly fame, anonymous fame, but some people get a kick out of that anonymous fame. Some people get a kick out of that urban legend mythology that grows beyond their life, and he knows after he passes away, the Simon Necronomicon will still live on forever. So that is motivation for some people.
I think you're exactly right, and I think like he just wanted to be part of like lore in some weird way, and insert himself into the lore of H.P. Lovecraft. Because let's be honest, a Necronomicon had never really truly been published like that by Avon, and still is being published and had that influence apart from H.P. Lovecraft. Basically, it exists as a thing apart from H.P. Lovecraft. Even when I took a class on Lovecraft when I was around 30, for the first time, I had never read Lovecraft or knew about his influence. I asked about the Simon Necronomicon, and they said the teacher was like, yeah, that no academic people don't even look at that. They don't even consider that.
Yeah, it's automatically dismissed as a piece of garbage, tabloid literature.
Yeah, Lovecraft, like artists and everything, like they hate that. They don't hate it, but they just don't review it. They've never. I'm like, that's a little strange though. At least you'd think like they would actually read it and review it and dead names and all this, but even they won't touch that thing. Mm-hmm. They don't like it. They don't, but at some point it did become like, something I think people are reconsidering.
I would say right now, it's pretty much the poor man's occult book. Anyone who can afford it, anyone has seen it. Avon Books isn't a reputable book publisher. They would churn out garbage, anything. It's not of high esteem, which is why it threw me off when the Ghost Adventures crew brought it on every investigation. And when nothing happened at the locations, they're like, break out the Necronomicon, start reading. We're in the fourth gate of hell. Start
really do that?
And then stuff starts happening. Oh, I wonder why stuff starts happening. Now, if it's a hoax, why would spirits react to a hoax? Spirits, you got to understand, if they're negative, diabolical, mischievous, tricksters, they don't care if it's a hoax book written 2 days ago or a hoax book written 50 days ago or 100 years ago. They don't care. If it has some murky language that entices and is anti-Christian and leans in the direction of negative things, they'll definitely feed off of that, and they'll bounce their energy off of that, and they'll show up. And so you don't have to draw freaking gates at a graveyard, which is what a guy named Coetting did. He said that's how he first got into the occult. I don't want to talk in detail about that guy because he got in a lot of trouble. Even mentioning his name might get us in trouble.
Though. He's back though, apparently.
But I think I heard he's on TikTok because a lot of platforms kicked him off, and that's definitely not something for the TikTok generation.
Well, there's all this like witch talk. They call it witch talk, where like more,
there's a lot of trendy witchcraft stuff going on. And it's not all fun and games,
No, it's definitely not. It's scary to see my little nephew pull out on his phone, a Necronomicon. And it's, even though it's totally unreliable and fake, probably, and it is, and it's still like encouraging people to go to graveyards, draw sigils, and commune with dead people. It's cool. It's all cool. It's cool now, so it's not a good thing. And I think you're right. Like ultimately, like you shouldn't mess with it and stuff, but yeah.
So, you could positively protect yourself. The occultists say you do some ritual. You don't need to do any ritual. You can just ask on a higher power. I would prefer Jesus personally, but someone will prefer some other higher power. The angels can protect you against negative things. And what people don't understand is negative things are buffered against humans, and humans are protected by angelic power all the time. All the time, we're protected against negative things. The angels do their job, and we don't know they're there. We don't acknowledge they're there. We don't comprehend they're there.
They're not writing books through channel people.
It's an invisible level of protection, but you can break that protection by breaking open a book of Necronomicon and start reading all this negative stuff.
Right.
That negative stuff is inspired from a negative place. I think it was just some teenagers or some young adults that came up with it because they worked at an occult bookshop. And I think someone said that customers would come in, oh, you got the Necronomicon? And it didn't exist. And they saw an opportunity for a lot of cash. They're like,
Makes sense.
But they did sell the Necronomicon, and they sold it with a tape with Peter Levenda's voice. And the tape is pretty long. You can find that tape on YouTube. It's like 30 minutes long of Peter Levenda.
Sounds just like
how to use it. It might be 40 minutes long. I listened to it. I skipped through it. I'm like, oh, this is
well, and also look at the Coast to Coast episode, if where he comes on as Simon, and it's obviously he's just talking in a Russian accent or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one. I'll have to check that out.
I will it's just a Necronomicon. I don't know. I did have it as a saved bookmark at one point, but I keep forgetting to send it to you.
I wouldn't trust everything with Coast to Coast AM. It could have even been some fake guy they staged. But
no, it was definitely Levenda. It was
Levenda.
You listen to it,
It's just I know for a fact that George Norrie doesn't research jack squat.
Wasn't even Norrie.
George Norrie doesn't exactly tell the truth all the time. Just a tiny piece of information. George Norrie claimed to talk with me personally. And
really?
I've never talked with George Norrie personally in my life. What happened was I talked to George's producer's assistant.
Yeah.
And George twisted that as I talked to him personally, and I never did. And they invited me on to talk about John Teeter. And then what happens in Hollywood and show business, even low quality radio shows, is they uninvite you at the last second. So that's if anyone wants to break into show business, you have to have a pretty thick skin, and you have to be used to being invited on radio shows, invited on podcasts, invited on TV shows, documentaries, movies, and then immediately uninvited for no reason at the last second. They don't give you a warning. But
constant disappointment, people.
Just stick it out. Stick it out. I was in a documentary on John Teeter, and Jay Cheel is an honest guy, and he's directing it. It's on John Teeter, and he's actually researching it and investigating it on a very thorough, deep level. So I know Jay Cheel's working really hard on it, and I think he has details that even I don't have, even I never heard of, and I never thought of, because he's looking at every angle, and he knows that Coast to Coast AM isn't the place where you're going to get true information. The guy who runs, I don't even want to plug that, but there's a John Teeter dude. He's still plugging John Teeter to this day. It's a dead hoax, dude. It's dead. It's
was that 2.0?
Hoax. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say his website, but George Norrie is still plugging this hoaxer. And I think I busted this hoaxer. I have new information where I matched up his voice with another interview. And like you said, you heard Peter Levenda in that fake Simon interview. There's a John Teeter fake interview, and I matched it up with another time traveler. And
I did.
It's not the first time I matched it up. It's just the first time it really clicked, because I heard them talking about the same thing, the same subject, the same thing, and the same voice. And I'm like, wow, it's the same person.
That's interesting. Yeah, I remember just this past weekend or last week or this week, I was listening to a documentary. I think you were in it on John Teeter. It was recent for the past few years, whatever. But it has a whole segment on you, and it's very funny. It's from my end because I kind of know you,
Did they splice me in there?
Yeah, but it's like constant edit. Like you might know John. He entered John Hughston as Erasmus. He ran it, and it goes through all like the whole thing, and
Okay.
then they speak to you and stuff. And then I
Yeah,
saw
that's true. Yeah.
some other podcasts that you had been on, and you came across really well. Like the people, obviously, they want to talk John Teeter, it's still like a thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think you've gone beyond that. But I think you're going to live with that for the rest of your days.
Yeah, it's a dead hoax. And then I
But it's
see
going to
some of the
come back.
comments. Some of the comments are like, "Oh, get an expert." I'm one of the top experts in the world on this horrific subject, which I wish I was
Yeah.
not. I wish I was not an expert on it, to be honest. That's one of
Well,
the
you
reasons
have,
I'm doing a movie, is because I want to be known for something else and something better. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But I've been working
I
on the
know.
movie really hard. Necktie Lumaton. I'm gonna make T-shirts for Necktie Lumaton before the movie even comes out. Okay, I'm gonna make T-shirts for the Pyramidical Podcast. And if you want to support us, feel free to snag a T-shirt. All the T-shirts on my Teespring are ancient. They're very old. Some of the links might not work. There's even private T-shirts that they publicly popped on there. I didn't even want to be on there. It's very hard to
Oh,
change
really?
them. So I'm going to try to change them because they're not. Some of them, are like that orange one's not even supposed to be there. I was just
Yeah,
testing out. I was testing out the features on the
I
T-shirt.
love that. I love some of the orange weird ones that you be able to get. I'm gonna get them. Also, don't forget the riddle of the week of the podcast. This riddle, you could win a Thorin Oaken
Okay, I
Shield
can put the riddle in the
figurine.
description so people
All
can,
right.
can see it that way.
Yeah. So be on the walk show. I think. Are we gonna end the podcast?
Yeah, we got to end it on out. I got to have dinner. I haven't had dinner yet.
All right. Have some dinner, and I'll catch you later.
All right. Thank you
All
for
right.
watching
Yeah.
the Podcast. Peace out.